Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Anna Morphides with Mending Hearts Counseling, and today's video is going to be continuing on this very relevant and very challenging relationship dynamic between someone who has had an anxious attachment style as a child developed and someone who has had an avoidant attachment style as a child develop. So these two later on come together in adulthood, and this is the way that they understand what their perspective attachment style is and what it is that they need to do the work in order for them to go into where we all aim to be as human beings, which is securely attached within ourselves, with our emotions, with our core beliefs, with our wounds. And once we can provide that for ourselves, then we can help provide it to other people or bring in people that have the same vibrational level as us, so then we can coexist peacefully and harmoniously on this beautiful planet Earth. And this book has become my Bible. I'm actually just coming from counseling work today, and there are so many people. Actually, this video is based on a request that I had from a video that I made over the weekend due to my own personal experiences with what used to be an anxious attachment style. There's remnants of it for sure, 1,000%, but it feels way different than what it felt like in my prior years. But I still have experiences with it where it creeps up and it affects my relationships, especially the ones of the romantic nature. So I made a video in order to help others understand the same dynamic, because it is like a million percent that an avoidant will bring in an anxious, and then vice versa. This is how we learn what our attachment is in the first place. So by shedding light on it, then we can stop this ridiculous thing of having chasers and runners. So then the chasers end up are going to be usually the ones that come and work with me, and they are so sad and they're crying and they're so upset and they're not understanding what is taking place. Why are they not being loved? And then I've had a couple of avoidants that I have worked with, but always experience the avoidant in my relationship with a masculine. I haven't had a chance to experience a secure masculine yet, but it's fine. I don't really make it mean anything about myself anymore, because I understand what actually happens in the dynamic. It's so simple when you think about it, and this is why knowledge is power, right? Like the more you know, the more you can free yourself from these ideas that there's something wrong with you or there's something wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with anyone, but we do get triggered and we do feel challenges. And yeah, so we're going to talk about today this question, and it says, what are your thoughts on that someone's avoidance style can change to be anxious for someone else? So this is very common, more common than you think that it would be, because when we have, actually there's a test that you can take to figure out what your attachment style is. When we take these tests, sometimes your attachment style will overlap between the avoidant and the anxious one. So you're going to be in the middle. So you have parts of an avoidant and parts of an anxious. It's not always 100% this and 100% that. And just to remind everyone, we have the anxious, the avoidant, the secure attached, and then there's the disorganized. But then each one has a different subcategory in it. So you can be an anxious avoidant, or you can be a fearful avoidant. So this stuff can happen, so you can overlap. So yes, it makes sense to me that someone's avoidance style can change to be anxious for someone else. And guess how it's going to interchange? It's going to interchange depending on who's standing in front of you. So if someone that's approaching you tends to be an avoidant, and let's just revisit for a quick second here what an avoidant, because this is part of the human journey, as this book says. The avoidant wants to, the avoidant is actually scared of losing the self through contact with their partner, which initially came from their loss of self through contact with the parent. So now as an adult, that parent gets replaced by the partner. So if someone in front of you is an avoidant and then they have a core issue of being fearful of too much togetherness, too many feelings, too much chaos, guess what attachment style you're going to go to? You're going to go to your anxious attachment style, because that person is not going to be providing stability for you, right? And then the opposite, if you have someone that used to be like me, the anxious attached, then our core beliefs are that we can't get our needs met, and then we want to hold on to the connection in order to feel safe. So we're like replaying this attachment that's really unhealthy, that when we were little, because of our parents, our primary caregivers, like in my case, they were not able to provide me with my 4 S's, safe, seen, secure, soothe. So then I go into this wanting to attach to them in order to feel the love that they were not able to give me, like insecurely, like I'm scared, I'm fearful, I'm afraid, and then I attach to get that love. But that doesn't work, because later on, when I'm an adult and then the avoidant comes in, and then I typically feel like that they're not there because I become clinging and demanding, and then I am attempting to fuse. It makes sense to me why this dance happens back and forth. And I actually run into this meme today that was so funny while I was researching to make this video. And it basically, I can't show it because it's on my phone. It basically has a stick figure that has the title Avoidant, and then there's another stick figure and it has the title Anxious. And then the anxious one has a little bubble, and it says something along the lines of, I'm not feeling, you're not giving me enough attention, I feel unloved. And then the anxious attached person has a little bubble, and it says, but I give you everything, or I'm giving you everything, what else do you want? And that's exactly how it goes. The anxious attached person feels like they're not receiving enough because they need that constant validation. And then the avoidant is so not wanting to be in that space because it feels so overwhelming. And then they already feel that they're giving so much and it feels like so much pressure. And then this one feels like there's not enough connection. And then boom. Right? If there's no awareness, like this book says, you're not going to be able to keep the love that you find, and your relationship is going to end tragic, and it's going to feel frustrating, and it's going to feel sad. And I even heard, the word toxic today. So I can see why people use these terminologies to describe their relationships. But in my head, when I think about these interactions, I'm like, that's so normal. That's just our inner children colliding. They want to heal themselves. They're finding the perfect opportunity to help each other do the work, because this book says that when we're children, we identify, or we create a persona he called it the imago. Like in my counseling school, we identified it as the ego, and it becomes like a misguided ally because it's trying to protect you from what's taking place. So you identify your imago, which then becomes the fantasy partner that your unconscious mind has a hidden agenda of its own has chosen for you. Let me repeat that. Identifying your imago, the fantasy partner that your unconscious mind, which has a hidden agenda of its own, has chosen for you. So our unconscious mind chooses a partner that has an agenda, right? And that agenda is to set itself free. The agenda of any connection is to be a catalyst for our self-growth. Like, and this is what he says after that, like breaking free from those patterns in your parents' marriage that have you unknowingly accept as your relationship model. So you bring in this imago, right, that you have created as a child. You bring that in as a romantic partner later on in life with the agenda that has been chosen for you, right? I have chosen to experience an anxious attachment style, and naturally I'm going to bring in avoidance, because if I brought in another anxious person, then we'd both be attaching to each other and not living happily ever after. We'd be, yeah, depending on each other. It would, we'd be like a symbiotic relationship that's just not good. Actually, it would be a parasitic. Symbiotic relationship is good. Symbiotic is good, right? That's right. Yeah, symbiosis. It's like two, yeah, it's when you have a parasite that's on you, that's like, that's not, I can't remember what that's called in biology, but it's a parasitic. Yeah, so then you break free from these patterns, and then you create hope instead of despair. Despair, why am I feeling this way? Why is it feeling toxic? Why is it feeling so challenging? Why is it feeling so dramatic? What other terminologies have I heard? Not only from myself, but from clients as well. Dramatic, yeah, chaotic. I've heard borderline obsessive. Like, yes, we would be able to break free from these and create hope, and then develop communication skills to turn conflict into contact and togetherness, and transform every past relationship into a source of positive growth, and practice new relationship skills on your inner self and what you want out of love, and discover the rewards of real love, which is coming home to your real true self through these experiences. And then the little things that can make that last. So the little things that can make that last, as Jonathan Robinson says in his book, are, is it communication? Is it compassion, empathy, understanding, curiosity, understanding, and empathy, right? Like, is being curious, asking questions, holding space for your partner, not blaming, not shaming, not owning up to your word, like just having cue. But not everyone has the capacity, and that is something that I also have to accept too. Depending on where you are in your life, like sometimes people just don't have the capacity to hold anyone there because they can't even do that for themselves. So how can we expect that to happen for someone else? So all that can be communicated though, and everything can be worked through. So I know I'm answering this question in a long around way, but yes, that can happen. And then she's saying that she's noticing herself, how sometimes she's more warm, cold, depending on where I tend to place people in the hierarchy of closeness in my life, which then hypocritically makes me anxious that others might do the same with me. Of course, the things that we fear about ourselves are the things that we fear. Like, if we fear the way that our primary caregiver was predominantly, like the one that gave us our attachment style in the first place, the fear of having that experience again makes sense to me that it will exist, because it becomes like a vibrational field of who we are. So we date who we are, not what we want. So if we're anxiously attached still, we're gonna bring in more situations to perpetuate that anxious feeling. And if we're avoidant, we're gonna continue to bring in, if we're avoiding connection, avoiding feelings, emotions, we're going to keep bringing in experiences and or people that will make us be more in that vibration of wanting to avoid. So it's then again, it's like clashing. Yeah, so that makes sense to me. And then making her anxious that others might do the same. Yes, that makes sense. Arouses feelings of not being enough, because this is why we become anxiously attached in the first place. It's because we've never felt enough in the presence of our primary caregiver. So then we are still seeking for that validation. And that's why we love words of affirmation. That's why we need more communication. We need more validation. It's just because we're looking for that. Like, we're looking to feel enough. And even though I know now that I am enough, I know that I am enough, I know it, I feel it, I still want to hear it. But then it's really hard when we're not hearing it and we're experiencing ambiguity, then that triggers it even more. So feelings of not being enough for some people compared to others, then we have to think, why are some people arousing feelings of enoughness from us and some others are not? Is it part, like, what part are we taking into this connection? Because once we do the work and like truly we do feel enough, is it just for us to know that maybe perhaps this person is not meant to be in our life? It's like to really know what our values are and really stick to our core beliefs. So if we feel not enough in the presence of someone, is it really still us not feeling enough about ourselves? Or is it just a test from the universe to see, like, can you walk away from something that's not serving you? Because that's another thing too that we will experience. The universe tends to test us, is what I have understood from everything that I've read, because it really wants to know that you've done your work and you mean business. So, yeah. I hope that this video made sense, and I hope that I did answer the question. So yes, we can be an avoidant and anxious attached style. And yes, that makes sense how people in our environment are going to bring that out of us. But then all it takes is realizing that, and then we just do the work to continue to heal those parts of ourselves through affirming that we are good enough. And then if we're in the avoidant side, I'm not an avoidant, I don't know, but I know with the ones that I've worked with and what they have said is that they feel almost trapped if they were to express emotion, because it's like, now what? Where do I go from here? And it feels like pressure, like so much pressure. But it makes sense to me when it was said to me that they feel trapped then if they express emotion, because there's nowhere else to go from there. Whereas an anxious attached person, well, with words, they go everywhere. So it's like complete opposite. It's wild. Yeah. So we continue to do the work to make sure that we do think and feel that we are enough. And then on the other side, we continue to do the work to know that it is safe to express emotion, and we're not going to lose ourselves through connection with someone. And what else does this book say about the avoidant? Oh, increase body awareness and contact with the environment and expression of feeling, and initiate emotional and physical contact. So this is how we break out of the cycles, right? And then for the anxious is, yeah, to let go, do things on your own, like things such as making sure that you feel enough and loved within yourself. You don't need anyone else to do that for you anymore. Of course, you can request it when we're in a relationship. It is normal to have requests. It is normal to express, this is how I'm feeling. Do you think that you can meet me there? it's normal to have these expressions in a nonviolent communicative way. I really hope that I'm doing my relationships justice with the things that I say and share on this channel, because I do take pride in how I show up in my connections. Yeah, not to say that I don't experience challenges. They're everywhere. But as always, thank you so much for watching my channel. If you liked anything about the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love for you to do so. And yeah, I welcome all your questions, comments, concerns, and I will see you next time.